think we're pretty much on 10 o'clock, so I will start for those of you who've already joined us. What's going to happen, just to let you know, any questions that you have, if you can post them with the hashtag ANU coffee courses, so this one here, and that way I've got some of the lovely ANU online team here with me, and they're going to pass me some questions throughout the next kind of 10 or 15 minutes. But other than that, I thought I'd start off by just, having a bit of a chat about some of the content that we've already covered, and welcome you all and thank you for your participation so far. So I'm Alex, so I'm the Wellbeing Project Coordinator, and I sit in the Access, Inclusion and Wellbeing team, which is part of the Division of Student Life here at ANU. My role is quite new to the uni, so I've only been here for the last year. But really what my role is about is looking at student wellbeing from quite a holistic way. So looking at the role that all of us as members of ANU and other universities and other kind of educational settings and really any organisation can do to support student wellbeing and health. And I thought it was really interesting on day one that we actually had a lot of kind of conversations, and a lot of the comments coming through were about what the role of academic staff is in student wellbeing. And this is something that I have had a lot of conversations with academic staff about and professional staff. And I think part of this is about the fact that sometimes when we think about wellbeing or we talk about mental health, we go into that illness model. So we start thinking about students who might be struggling or students who might be kind of starting to show some of those warning signs that, you know, we hear about, and whether it's assignments coming in late, not turning up to tutorials, that type of thing. But what I really wanted this course to be, and hopefully some of the key messages that has come out of the last couple of days, is that student wellbeing applies to all students. Wellbeing applies to all of us. You know, we all have mental health, and wellbeing, I guess, is that positive aspect. So when we're thriving in what we do. And I think I put a quote up that I read in an article recently that was about the fact that all university students have mental health. So we really need to think about what universities can do to support the mental health and wellbeing of all students. So I guess that's, my kind of first little plug, is that when we're talking about wellbeing, obviously we want to be thinking about students who might be struggling, and that is something that we'll touch on a little bit, and there might be some questions about that as well. But really thinking about actually what can we do to support the wellbeing of all students. And hopefully that's what's come out from the last couple of days. Before I kind of touch on too much more, I guess the other thing that I wanted to highlight is that this is a very exciting part of day 3, but there is also some content online which has gone live now, and you might have actually already logged into that, and that's how you've ended up here on our live stream via Twitter. But I really encourage you to have a look at that. There's another learning activity that I'll be kind of monitoring over the next couple of days, so it'd be great to get your feedback and take on that as well. Today's topics really look at teaching practice. And some of the, some really good case examples using the Enhancing Student Wellbeing modules of what people have actually trialled in different university settings, whether it be in tutorials, online spaces. There's also a video in there about how you support student wellbeing in a research supervision context, and that actually came up with, there was a couple of questions about that. So it'd be really good to get people to watch that video and get your take on that, because that again is a completely different relationship in terms of the way, whether you're an academic staff member, a professional staff member. So yeah, I really hope that that's something that also resonates with people. One of the other things that comes up today is actually about some life hacks, and I thought that was another topic that came up quite strongly both yesterday and on Monday, was the fact that we're all incredibly busy. So whether that's academic staff members, professional staff members, if you're also studying, as someone who, I just finished my postgrad last year and was studying and working full time, so I take my hat off to everybody that's doing that, because it's really tough. But one of the resources that you'll have access to today is actually called Life Hacks for Teaching, and it's some really quick tips, I guess, to think about how you can actually think in terms of student wellbeing without necessarily having to invest a huge amount of time into it. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased, and I would encourage you to put as much time into this concept as you can. But realistically, it's actually about really kind of small changes that you can do to support the work that you're already doing, and just to think about how either your teaching practices or the way that you engage with students can support wellbeing. And I think one of the things that I found going through that resource was it was really good to also reflect on what people are already doing. I think sometimes in conversations like this, we can focus on the negatives. We can think, I wish I had been doing that, or, oh, I can't believe I never thought to do that. When realistically, we're all actually doing the best that we can. I don't think there's anybody here at ANU or in other universities that are, out to damage our students. We all want to support students in the best way that we can. And so sometimes it's also about actually thinking about what has worked really well for you. So I definitely encourage you to check out that resource as part of the Day 3 materials. It's a PDF that you can download and look at. I'd be happy to talk to people more about that. It's not related to the teaching, the learning activity. The learning activity is about some scenario-based questions. But if you have any questions about that fact sheet and tips, you are very welcome to either email me directly or put something up on the discussion board. At the end of this, I will probably share my email with people. Well, I will share my email with people in some form or another. Because I guess for me, I see this as the start of a conversation. I hope a lot of you are also seeing that. This is definitely kind of just an intro, and it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I know a lot of people here at ANU and in other universities and who are teaching people in the wide variety of ways that people are engaging with students are really passionate about this. So let's definitely keep this conversation going. I think that one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was there was a few comments about the increasing rate or the numbers of students that are actually coming to either teaching staff or professional staff with anxiety and depression or stress and those types of things. And I know at the start of this talk I said I don't want to kind of focus on that illness side of things and that distress side of things, but I do think it is important to recognise that is something that is happening. And I know there was a lot of you who said that in your experience, whether it's been teaching for 20 years or teaching for 5 years, or you just started out as an academic staff member, noticing students seem to be struggling a little bit more at times. And I guess for me, it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. I think as Day 1 kind of pointed out, and there's a lot of kind of research that's coming out around the specific stresses that university students have in today's society and how that's changed, and the way that universities have changed and how that impacts on students is definitely increasing some of those stressful times. But I also think it is also about the fact that we are hopefully, as someone who's worked in the mental health sector for quite a few years now, becoming more open for people to actually be expressing when they're struggling. So I don't think it's that 20 years ago students were much more resilient necessarily, or they weren't facing as many stresses. I think that now we actually have a lot more dialogue about some of the impacts, the factors and things that impact on our students, which isn't a bad thing. And I think it's actually about, again, recognising what your role is, whether that's as an academic staff member, a professional staff member, a student staff member, and looking at kind of what your role is in supporting students when they may actually be at that more distressed side of things. And I think a few of you noted that, it's not about being a counsellor, and I think that's a really important point, is that a lot of the time it's about referring someone to the right supports and services. And I've been talking with the ANU Online team about, potentially doing something later in the year around kind of those peak stressful periods that would kind of explore this topic a little bit more. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely let us know, because it's something that we would be really keen to talk to you all about. I'm trying to think, I'm going to take a breath because I'm also conscious I've been talking for quite a while. One of the other things that I did kind of want to touch on was the changing way that we teach as well, that the changing, the impact of technology on student wellbeing. Again, a few of the comments that came up, particularly I guess on Day 1, were around how that actually can impact on students and the way that we've thought about teaching before. And I think again that's a really good point. It was really great to see a few of you kind of identify how do you support a sense of belonging, for example, when you're not actually seeing your students face to face. How are you able to kind of connect in with them? And it's a really important issue to explore. But I guess the big thing for me is that we still can, and it will look different to how we might have traditionally done that. But even things like, we talked a bit about that sense of belonging in a lecture where a lecturer might introduce themselves. and make you, you're a real person. I always found that really useful in my own experiences of studying. And then when I was studying the postgrad level and a lot of it was online, I still found it really great when a lecturer took the time to talk a little bit about themselves in that online space. There's also lots of things that can build a sense of belonging using technology as well. I think sometimes we can think of it in a negative way. But things like this, doing a live stream, as daunting as it can be to just be staring at an iPad and hope that people are listening and watching, it's a really good way for people to be able to see who you are and interact, particularly if they aren't able to access campus or they're in a rural or remote area and feeling quite disconnected from their course. Other things, and again, in terms of the resources that we have here at ANU, looking at using kind of videos and kind of more visual things. And I know ANU Online and Culloden, a lot of those different kind of teams that we have here can support academic staff to look at that. And I really, encourage you, when you are, maybe learning about how to look at a different online, mode of teaching, to be thinking about how that might impact on student wellbeing and what you could be doing in that context. The other thing that came out and what I really loved seeing yesterday was everybody, I would say probably 90% of people reflected on what they liked as students. We've all been students in one form or another. Some of us more recently, some of us quite a while ago. But it was great to have so many people recognise what they really liked and the courses that, or the teachers or the lecturers that really impacted on them, as well as the ones that, may not have been so great for their well-being. And I think that's a really important thing to do, and it was really nice to see that happen quite organically, I guess, is a way of saying that, in that that wasn't one of the teaching components, that wasn't one of the learning activities, but I think the fact that, all of you reflected in some way of something that was helpful for you as a student really shows that, sometimes, it's not about having the latest research or evidence. It's actually about remembering a feeling and remembering a time that we felt a sense of belonging, when we had autonomy in the work that we were doing. When you did really well in a course, I often talk to people about that in regards to your well-being, is that sometimes it's a really good test is if there's a course you did really well in, unless you're, like one of my friends who studied guitar for 10 years and then did an introduction to music, and so they did very well in that, but that was for a very different reason. Engaging with the course you are going to do better in, and there's a lot of evidence around that, so I probably don't need to talk to you too much. But I think, if you didn't take a chance yesterday to think about and reflect on your own experience as a student, I'd really encourage you to do that. Jump back online to day 2. And even day 1, the comments have still been coming through, which has been fantastic, and I've been working my way through trying to respond to all of you, and I've posed a couple of questions in there back to you, so it'll be great to get your answers on that. And I'll work with ANU Online team over the next little while as well to make sure that, if you're, next week or a week later, you're getting ready for O Week and students to come back and you're thinking of something and you comment on that board, that will try and get that response to you. And definitely please contact me as well. I would love to have conversations with people face to face. I'm always happy to grab a coffee or explore a little bit more of ANU campus. I am very University Avenue, Childers Street side, but I'm happy to kind of do a bit of exploring and get out and about and come to you and find out about the work that you're doing. How are we going for time? Okay, so we've hit the 15 minutes. I'm not sure if there's any questions that have come through yet. Okay, what I might do is just, give a couple more minutes in case somebody does have a burning question that they would like to ask. Again, if there's something more that you would like to have in terms of the discussion board, from here, so for those of you who are on ANU campus today, we're going over to Coffee Lab, which is in the pop-up village, and we're going to have a little bit of a catch up, and I'll take a breath and have a glass of water and stop talking for a little while. But it would be great to meet with you and have a bit more of a chat. But if there's any other questions that you have, please feel free to contact me. My email address, we might see, I'll probably put it up in one of the discussion board posts today. But if anyone has a burning question, it's my name, which is Alexandra Culloden, so alexandra.culloden, and then it's at anu.edu.au. But we'll make sure that that goes up on the discussion board so you can get in contact with me that way. But I really look forward to seeing your thoughts on day 3. There are a lot of case scenarios. Please don't be overwhelmed by them. Some of them will be really applicable to you, others won't. I do encourage you to look at the ones that you might kind of dismiss as going, oh, well, I never teach in that context, so I'm not going to look at it. But I sometimes do things like that. But there's some really kind of interesting ideas, and the learning activity today is actually getting you to pick one that's relevant to your role. So as well as doing that, have a little bit of a look. Make sure you log back on throughout the day and see what other people have commented on as well. I feel that's been one of the biggest takeaways for me from these last couple of days, is getting to hear other people's thoughts. And I thank you all again for sharing so openly your experiences and things. That's really made it quite a engaging and interactive couple of days. I think that was kind of the main thing that I wanted to cover off today. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else that I wanted to say at the moment, but I guess the other thing is, as you would have seen, all of the content for this course has come from the Enhancing Student Wellbeing modules, which was developed by a team including the University of Melbourne. They very kindly allowed us to use that and tweak it slightly for the ANU context, as well as other people that are kind of joining us via ANU Online's blog. So a really big thank you to them for allowing us to access that. I think there's a lot of work happening in this space, and the more that we can all work together and share resources and ideas, the better. So they have, if you haven't checked out that website either through the links on the page already or the videos, definitely do. There is so much content on there. I had to work very hard to keep it to time because it is a coffee course, and it didn't need to turn into a long lunch, but it could have very easily done that. So please check those out. If you have any questions, let us know. But thank you again for your participation, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of the course. Thank you.